George III is looking pretty good these days, isn't he? I mean, the only problem we had with him was taxes. So we got rid of him. And we started the ball rolling. From 1776 on, everybody started getting rid of their kings. And the ones they kept or brought back to the throne had to obey the law, just like the citizens had to obey the law. And then the church in 1920, when kings were sort of a byword of the past, we institute a feast of Christ the King. It didn't start until the 20s. And it was the church's way of responding to the rise of communism and fascism and all the isms that were so anti-Christian. Interestingly enough, the date chosen for the Feast of Christ the King was the last Sunday of October, because that was Reformation Sunday, and we all know about them. It was only after the Vatican Council that the spirit of ecumenism caused us to move the feast to the end of the liturgical year, this Sunday. What's the difference between a king and Christ the King? Traditionally, kings passed on their thrones from father to son or to daughter sometimes, and the citizens didn't have anything to say about it. But in the kingdom of Christ, consent is necessary. The citizenship of the kingdom of Christ is offered to everyone. And if we consent to live in the kingdom, we have to live by the law of the kingdom. Otherwise, we are not good citizens. And what is the law of the kingdom? Not the Ten Commandments. A new commandment I give you, said Jesus, a new law. Love as I love you. Love as I have loved. That's all that's necessary to be part of the kingdom of Christ. And it's interesting that Luke has seven groups of people responding to Jesus as he mounts his throne for the first time, his ultimate throne, which is the cross. Which, by the way, is why we always have a crucifix near our altars. For when we celebrate the Lord's Supper, we must continually remind ourselves what we're getting into. We have a king who doesn't just reign, but he reigns from a cross. And he wants his citizens to do the same. The crowd who stood by watched. They didn't get involved in the kingdom of this king being crowned on the cross. And the leaders, the government, if you will, including the soldiers, ridiculed this new reign, this new law. It was only the thief, and only one of the thieves, who accepted citizenship in the kingdom by admitting his need for the mercy of God, which is exactly what the kingdom of God, the kingdom of Christ, is all about. That's why we just finished this long the year of mercy. It was closed out yesterday. Not that the mercy of God was closed, but this PR business that we got involved in the church to promote an understanding among ourselves, first of all, and to offer it to others, that the whole idea of Christ's coming was to show mercy, not to judge. So ultimately, as we face these scriptures today, being told that we were offered the kingdom by St. Paul, and seeing what the crowning of the king involved in Luke's gospel, we have to bring ourselves to ask ourselves the question, how do I respond to the offer of citizenship in this kingdom? How have I responded? Because unless I align myself with the law of the kingdom, I am refusing citizenship. I can't stand by and watch. Much worse, ridicule. Action must be taken by me. Jesus said at one point in the gospel, the kingdom of God is within you. And that has been used by Christians down through the centuries as the great escape. It's within me. It's personal, a personal relationship with Jesus. It's private. It's Jesus in me. And that's wonderful. That's wonderful. But the Greek doesn't necessarily translate that way all the time. What the Greek of Luke's of the Gospel could have said very legitimately is, the kingdom of God is among you. It isn't something you get for yourself. It's something that you get in community, sharing with others, whether it's the initial community of the church, which is the vanguard of the kingdom, or whether it's the community in which you spend your life. And there's many of those that we spend our lives in. The most intimate and the most political. The kingdom of Christ, which God his Father wants to spread and grow over the course of time, only grows when more citizens are added to the kingdom. So if Christ is king among us, having a relationship which is personal, private, spiritual, having that kind of a citizenship is not going to move the kingdom of God forward, which is the plan of God. We say it among ourselves politically, good citizens are active. They first of all vote, but they get involved in their community. They know what's going on in the school system. They know what's going on at the city council. They know what's going on in Washington, and they communicate with their representatives in all these places. Sometimes they even protest, but they always vote. And citizenship in the kingdom of Christ demands no less from us. It demands activity. And the fundamental activity is to obey the King, who said, "Love as I have loved you, even unto the cross." In other words, join me on the throne. Love, forgive, serve each other. Be good citizens.